Prime-time local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Drama students from Lloydminster Comprehensive High School were given acting workshops by actor Scott Patty in preparation for their Last Laugh improv show. Our Ty Roswell has more.
Improv is one of the strongest tools in an actor's arsenal. Scott Patty, a Lloydminster local actor, is spending the next couple days with LCHS drama students, showing them the basics of keeping a scene running.
Today's a lot of improv stuff, so a lot of basics of improv. What is improv? They have been working on it already as part of their, and I remember when I was a student, it was one of those things of like, oh, this is fun. You get to make your classmates laugh. You get to be silly. And then when I grew up, I found out that you could do it as a living. So I kept doing it as a living. Teenagers, it's sometimes that awkward age where we're still, figuring out ourselves. Things are changing. Our minds are changing, being developed, especially nowadays. So it's nice to just have them. I start class, but when they get up in a circle, I'm like, put all your cell phones away, put everything away. Just be present, even if it's for 45 minutes.
The lessons are all in preparation for the drama students' Last Laugh improv show and fundraiser to raise money for the school's theater.
We start with improv at the beginning of the year, but this year we wanted to prepare for a one-act play festival. We started with our one-act festival stuff first, and now we're transitioning into improv, so this is kind of our first day of getting into it. It's very exciting. It's really funny because usually you're supposed to be very good at talking and just keeping your ideas going, but I'm struggling right now.
Lloydminster's been such a great supportive community, teaming up with the Comp to put on the improv show, which is tomorrow night at the theater at LCHS. It's me partnering up with some former students of Simon that used to come here that now moved to Edmonton, as well as some of the students from the school. So that's going to be a lot of fun. It's fun to see people out supporting. And the trivia nights, the Lobster Fest, it's so great to come to Lloydminster and have full community support, have events that are busy with lots of people attending. So it always makes my job easier.
Scott hopes the students take the skills they have learned the last couple of classes and apply them to their next endeavors in acting. Ty Roswell, Primetime Local News.
This week represents Mental Health Week, specifically maternal mental health, as a way to show mothers going through postpartum depression that they're not alone and that there are resources to help them get through it.
So it's World Mental Health Week, actually all week. So we have dedicated this specific day to maternal mental health wellness. So just reaching out to parents as they, from conception to delivery and after having a child, to just connect and promote awareness, because we know that there are maternal struggles following, and just providing supports for them.
The objective of this event is to connect people with the resources and programs they need while going through postpartum depression.
We have multiple programs in our community: Primary Care Network, Midwest Family Connections, Lloydminster Population Health. All of these programs have resources, supports, so just connecting with them to see what works for them. There's tons of opportunities. We do a lot on social networking, so even any of those programs, connecting with their social networking pages, and if that's not an option for people, connecting with those programs themselves to see what's out there.
Following the event, Flora's Walk took place. It is a walk that was created in partnership with the Canadian Perinatal Mental Health Collaborative and the family of Flora Babakani, who lost her life to suicide due to undiagnosed postpartum psychosis.
They've done fundraising, support community programming, and even provide more resources and research into communities, healthcare providers, individuals themselves, community members, to support maternal mental health. Last year was their first walk. They started with 20 teams. This year, they've doubled that. They now have 40 teams, and Lloydminster actually is one of them this year. So we're very passionate about creating more awareness and want to be a part of that committee, as it's a national initiative.
Even though this week is dedicated to maternal mental health, there is year-round resources and programs that are there to support women and families living with PPD.
Just reconnection, making sure people are aware they're not alone. They have supports, and we know that this is a real issue, and we want people to have the supports they need so we can build better families and communities.
Tomorrow marks Red Dress Day in honor of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people. The Lloydminster Native Friendship Centre will hold a ceremony and memorial walk for the day. Our Shelby Clark spoke with the organizers for more details.
Joining us today for Primetime Local News is Lori Harris and Patsy Waskowicz with the Lloydminster Native Friendship Center, and we are speaking on Red Dress Day tomorrow, and this is on missing, murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people. So thank you both so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Really glad to be able to have you both on here for today to be able to speak on this and help get the word out on this event, because this has been an event for quite a while now, of course. And for people out there that may be unaware, can we start off with you just explaining exactly what this day represents?
It's to honor and it brings awareness to the thousands of Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people who have been subjected to disproportionate violence in Canada. It also tells of like we make up 5% of the population.
Indigenous women.
Yeah, Indigenous women. And that there's 24% of female homicide victims per year, Indigenous women. Those are big numbers. For the past couple of years, anyway, I've seen the awareness of Red Dress Day come up high on the priority.
I think when the Truth and Reconciliation Claims for Action came out, this was identified as one of the highlight ones that needed to be addressed. So a commission was formed and the government promised $53 million to do an inquiry and to put money towards solving these cases and, you know, moving forward from there. And I think that brought more awareness to the public about the issue. We heard of it before, but I think, you know, the whole public now is very aware of this issue, and that came out of that.
And for this day tomorrow on May 5th, can you kind of explain what exactly is all going to be happening here in the Border City?
Well, we're starting out with a pipe ceremony on the Red Dress Day, but I'm going to let Patsy talk a little bit about that. It's a traditional ceremony, very sacred, and I'll let her talk a little bit about that.
Pipe ceremony for us is really important to begin anything. For us, it's prayers, the ones that have been victims of violence, death, and the ones that haven't been found to date. So we gather to pray for that, and yeah, it's anybody can attend. We just, you know, have few rules. Female, wear a long skirt, and we do all sit on the floor. So that's just how we are with nature and stuff. We had a good turnout last year. Mostly females had attended, and I expect no less this year. So.
Hopefully more.
Yes, hopefully more.
Then following that up, we have our memorial walk. So we're going to meet at the front of City Hall. We're going to walk to the clock tower and then down to 49th Avenue and then back to the center for a luncheon. We've encouraged city businesses, especially in the downtown area, to hang red dresses, or it's something any business can do to honor the day. Hang a red dress in your window. It just says you're with us. You're in, you know, you're an ally in what's going on. So that's something anybody can do, or a red piece of clothing. And so when we get back, we're going to have a luncheon. We'll have we have an honorary family coming for a luncheon, and we're going to have a drum group here, and hopefully a guest speaker. So those are the things you can look forward to, and a free lunch, no cost to the lunch. And we just hope that everybody that comes on the walk, or if anybody can't walk, will just come for the luncheon. Mm-hmm. So the evening vigil is going to be at the gazebo at City Hall, behind the Legacy Center and City Hall and the police station in there, just to get off the main roads. We thought on a Friday it might be noisy with traffic. And it's just going to be a psalm evening with dancers. There's going to be a singer and a dancer, and there's going to be a drum group, and someone is going to give a talk, and it's going to be about an hour and a half long. So from 7 to 8:30 at the gazebo that evening. Weather permitting, hopefully it'll be good.
Now, with the process of planning this for this year's event and for the ceremony, have you seen some strong support from people in the community already and from businesses?
Well, we've had a great committee working on it from the community. We've had great support from the Health Foundation, from the Lloyd Learning Council, United Way, Vermilion and Lloydminster Equity. We've had just lots of people reach out and say, this is a really, really good thing, and we want a part of it in some ways. So we've got people from volunteering that are coming, a couple from the college, and just some community members. So I think it's going to be bigger and better this year.
Well, I think it's very important that we're able to have you on here and just kind of help spread the word and be able to find out what exactly is all happening here in the Border City for Red Dress Day. So thank you both so much again for joining us today, and I hope you see some strong support, but I'm sure you will.
Thank you, Shakti.
We saw an absolutely beautiful day out today, like we saw the past few days, and hopefully that continues on into the weekend. But with more, here's our Shelby Clark.
Thank you so much, Miss Abby St. John. Yes, a beautiful day indeed. If you stepped outside whatsoever, it is a scorcher out there. We are just sitting at 29, almost practically hitting that 30-degree mark. And we are seeing some spots across the region and across the province that do have that extreme heat warning in effect, which is kind of surprised how we kind of switched up from some cooler spring temperatures straight into some scorchers for the week. But it is what it is. Although here in the Border City, we do have a fire restriction in effect, especially with Bud Miller and Weaver Park. So please make sure that you are being careful out there, and if you're smoking whatsoever, make sure to put those butts out in those ashtrays instead of just throwing it on the ground, because of course we've seen how those grass fires can spread. So please make sure you are being safe out there, wearing that sunscreen, and drinking lots of water, because of course heat stroke is definitely a huge possibility for today. Switching over to temperatures across the region for Alberta and Saskatchewan, most spots are following suit with us here in the Border City, and as I was saying, some spots are seeing that extreme heat warning in effect right now. We have some 30-degree marks in most areas on our Alberta side. We have it in Cold Lake, Bonnyville, over in Vegreville, Edmonton, and one down in Wainwright, and then we have 31 even up in Lac La Biche. So some of those areas there are seeing that extreme heat warning, and then others are between 28 to 29 degrees, kind of matching with us here more in the Border City. So definitely looking a lot warmer for today, but we will be seeing these cool down as we head into our weekend. Switching over to our Saskatchewan side, they are kind of matching with us with those conditions. Most spots are seeing around 27, 28 degrees on this side, so just 1 degree off for most spots with St. Walburg, Middle Lake, and Green Lake. Then we have 28 in most areas with Maidstone, North Battleford, and up in Isle La Crosse, and then some that are just hitting that 30-degree mark with Pearson and down in Macklin. So still looking quite warm on that side as well. North Battleford will be going down to that low of that 7-degree mark for their evening low. So once again, experiencing those plus temperatures for our evenings once again for tonight. And then for their Friday, North Battleford will be cooling down quite a bit to that 18-degree mark and seeing a sunny day. So that'll kind of help warm things up for sure for tomorrow. But it's nice to see that we are kind of cooling down after a couple of hot days for sure during the week. Cold Lake will be going out to that low of 9-degree mark, so they will be seeing that plus temperature, of course, once again tonight. Then 22 degrees for their daytime high for their Friday, so a beautiful temperature and seeing plenty of sunshine. So another beautiful day, but just not as warm as what they are seeing today, but that will be a nice break indeed. For us here in the Border City, we will be going down to that 7 for our evening low, so seeing not too bad of an evening low temperature for sure tonight. And then for our Friday, we're looking at 19, so as I was saying, we will be cooling down as we head into the weekend, so that will be nice to get a nice break from some of these scorchers, and we will be seeing plenty of sunshine once again. So I would say we are expecting a beautiful Friday indeed for us here in the Border City. And ending off with a look at one of your weather photo submissions. This one's actually a video here. Absolutely nice video from Nadine. Thank you so much for this shot. Absolutely love to see it. As we can see, it's going to start over here as birds kind of fly through the skies. So I absolutely love it. Great, great video. Thank you so much, Nadine. And that's all I have for now for a first look at your weather forecast.
Thanks so much, Shelby. Yes, we love seeing your weather photos and videos. But after the break, we'll have a look at today's business headlines. The high school provincial badminton championships will be hosted by Holy Rosary High School here in Lloydminster this weekend. Our Thomas Wildman has more.
This is the final practice for the two students who made it to provincials. First-time qualifier Casey Reyes is excited to compete in the tournament in his hometown.
I'm excited, actually. I like to have a crowd of my people. Yeah, it feels pretty nice, and you don't have to travel far. Expenses are low, so it's nice being able to stay home.
The other athlete competing is Ali Sistasso, who is in her final year of competition and is looking forward to provincials.
Going to zones, I was not sure if I was gonna medal at all, and the fact that I did, and getting gold like the second year in a row, I am so happy and so grateful to Mr. Allman especially for helping me get here.
The rest of the badminton team isn't going to be just watching from the stands, as there will be loads of jobs for them to work on to make sure the tournament runs smoothly.
Our team that didn't make it to the provincial portion of this season, they've all really stepped up to assist in many different areas, from being timers, helping at the score tables, the gate admission, helping with the clothing sales. We also have a gala event that's going on in place of the banquet on the Friday evening, and it is a closed event to the athletes, but our SLC student leadership group is amazing at putting on these kinds of events with their teachers, Ashley Fullerton and Becky Grassel. We know it's going to be a great event and fun for all the athletes.
Thomas Wildman, Primetime, Local News.
Now we're going back over to our Shelby Clark with an extended look at your evening weather forecast.
Thank you so much again there, Miss Abby St. John. Yes, now taking another extended look at your weather forecast. We'll be starting off with our central zone of the provinces, and of course we kind of expected to see these temperatures as we were looking across the region earlier on in the show. We are of course seeing some areas that are still sitting at that 30-degree mark. Edmonton and Whitecourt, they are just hitting that mark, so of course we are seeing some of these areas with that extreme heat warning in effect. And then we have some areas that are slightly cooler just by a couple degrees. 28, 29 for Athabasca and down in Red Deer. Cold Lake is also just hitting that 30 degrees. And then we have some that are just a few degrees off, with 26 in Rocky Mountain House, 25 over in Jasper, and then Edson is just in the middle there at 27. So not looking too bad on our Alberta side indeed. Switching over to our Saskatchewan side, they are kind of matching with us with those conditions. 23, 24 for Prince Albert and Melfort seem to be the coolest conditions that we are seeing on this side. Then we have 26 down in Saskatoon, Meadow Lake and North Battleford matching with us more here in the border city, around 27 and 28. Now going over to our northern zone, they actually have warmed up and are starting to match with us more in our central area, especially up in Stony Rapids now. They're just sitting at 30 degrees, so quite a switch up for today. Most are just sitting at 26 on our Saskatchewan side here. And then we have some areas that are slightly cooler, 22 in South End, and then Wollaston Lake and Flin Flon have yet to even hit that 20-degree mark for today, as they are still at those teens. And going back over to our Alberta side here in our northern zone, we even have a 32-degree mark there in Fort McMurray, and definitely one of those areas that have that extreme heat warning in place. So please make sure, as I was saying before, to drink lots of water, use some sunscreen, make sure you are just being safe out there. It's nice to have some of these scorchers as we are getting more into the summer season. You know, it's always very nice, although we still have to make sure you're being safe. That is top priority. 21, 22 for Fort Chipewyan and up in High Level, and then we even have Slave Lake just at 19 as they're just under that 20-degree mark. And then we have 23, 24 for Peace River and Grand Prairie as they are still in those mid-20 range. Going over to our southern zone now, they are kind of matched with us in our central area on our Alberta side here, although they're just a couple degrees off. The warmest is just 29 there in Medicine Hat, and then we start to slightly cool down from there. 28 for both Coronation and Calgary, so they're still quite warm in those areas. 27 there in Lethbridge, so they are definitely seeing the warmest conditions in these four spots. We go but over to Banff, and they are looking a lot cooler, just at 17, so they haven't quite hit that 20-degree mark yet. And going back over to our Saskatchewan side, they actually are looking slightly warmer compared to our Alberta side, as they are for the most part for all these areas, seeing past that 20-degree mark. Yorkton seems to be the coolest on this side with 21, and then we start to warm up from there. 23 for Estevan, and then as we go a bit more in the central area here with Regina at 24, and then we have 25, 26 for Swift Current and Moose Jaw, and the warmest on this side was Kindersley with 28 degrees, so just a couple degrees off from that 30-degree mark. And now as we look at some overnight evening lows in our surrounding area on this list in these areas, we are going to be seeing some nice temperatures for our evening lows once again, of course. Bonnyville seems to be the only one expecting that double digit with that low of 10-degree mark for tonight. A low of 9, Provost will be expecting, and a low of 6 and 7, Isla Cross and Paradise Hill will be seeing tonight, and Meadow Lake will be expecting that low of 5. So for the most part, most spots will be seeing that plus temperature for their evening low, but we won't be seeing any high chances of rainfall, unfortunately. It still will be quite calm tonight, so that'll be nice, although rainfall definitely would help out with, of course, all these grass fires and fire bans in effect. Looking at our early forecast for our Friday here in the Border City, we will be looking just around 19, 24 daytime highs, so we will definitely be cooling down for our Friday as we head into the weekend, which won't be too bad at all. I think it'll be a nice break. And as we go past Friday, we will head into the weekend and cool right down to that 15, 14. Hopefully on that Sunday and into Monday, we'll be seeing some rainfall. Hopefully we'll see that switch up a bit instead of some cloudier conditions. And after that, we'll start to warm it right back up next Wednesday as we hit that 21-degree mark. And that's all I have for now. Our Abby St. John will have more news coming up after the break.
Hello, I'm Callan Dunlop, and today I'm joined by Tim with Tim and the Glory Boys. Thank you so much for taking the time to come into studio.
Yeah, Callan, thanks for having me.
So to start off, I want to just learn a little bit about how you guys became a group. You guys originated in 2013. How did you form?
Well, it's a long story. I'll give you the short version. We were a Christian rock band for about a decade, and we did the whole thing. We traveled the world. We got to do that for a good 10 years, and then that ended, and we had to come up with something else. And all we had marketable skills-wise was running a band, so it had to be another band. So it kind of became the music of our upbringing. Like bluegrass is a big part of musically, like our roots, all of us in the band. So it made sense to just start a bluegrass band, and that's the short story for the origins. And it looks a lot different 10 years later today, but it came from that place.
And then I'd like to hear a little bit about your personal history with music. How did you get interested in music? Was it at a very young age, or just a little more in depth?
Yeah, I mean, it was just, my childhood was immersed in church, so it was the music of the church. I grew up at the back of a worship service while my parents played acoustic guitars, and that's the music I first learned. So I have a really, some might say lame, I say eclectic musical sort of history and discography in my head. I've picked up on a lot of the mainstream stuff that has come out since, but I grew up on just kind of gospel music. So yeah, out of that came all of whatever we're doing now, some sort of mix of country and gospel and bluegrass.
This is a kind of a funny question, but I'm curious as to, I was doing a little bit of research and I realized that you guys originated as just the Glory Boys, but Tim and the Glory Boys is now the name to be
right. I forced them
so
to put my name at the front. No, actually, the original name was Tim Neufeld and the Hallelujah Glory Boys. We wanted a name that had the most syllables so that it would just stick in the mouths of radio DJs if we ever made it onto the radio. We didn't make it onto the radio with that name. We shortened it and finally did get on. But yeah, it definitely was a lot of name changes out of the gates, and I'm not sure it won't change again, to be honest with you.
I want to talk about Trees, your first kind of big takeoff album.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear a little bit about the creation behind Trees.
Yeah, it was with a longtime producer with the band. His name's Alan Salmon. He's probably one of the most underrated musicians and producers in Nashville. But he's been my guy forever, as Bono is to Daniel Lanois, I am to Ellen Salmon, and yes, I am Bono in this in metaphor comparison. So Trees is an album about just my journey coming into bluegrass music. It is sort of that musical lattice work that sort of transitioned from like a pretty CCM country gospel music. They're all the same kind of, but there's definitely ways in which they interact, and so coming into bluegrass was doing a lot of the spiritual songs that I had grown up with just a bluegrass flair, and they were all covers, and it was the first piece of music that I'd ever done that won a Juno. So I guess as soon as I stopped doing my songs that I wrote, the success came. Something to learn in that.
Yeah, in 2022, you guys were nominated for Group of the Year by the Canadian Country Music Association.
Yeah.
I'd just like to hear how you guys feel being nominated for that. It's a huge honor, so just how you and the rest of the Glory Boys feel about it.
Yes, well, I can't speak for them. I think they're excited. But yeah, we're just honored to be in the same conversations as these other artists. We're so independently minded and sort of run that it's been a little bit to sort of adjust to like a music industry really outside of just our little thing that's embracing us, and we love it. At the end of the day, you're right, it's a huge honor. It's hard to take sometimes. I was raised to just like, you know, not take accolades as if being proud of yourself is maybe a negative thing, but we're learning as we rack up these accolades, and I think it's probably how it's supposed to be.
So we do got to wrap up soon. You guys are on tour currently. What's upcoming for you guys?
Well, I mean, a lot more touring. Tonight, here in Lloyd, we're at the Vic Juba, right?
Vic Juba, yeah.
Vic Juba, best venue name of the tour so far. And it's a party. It's a hometown hoedown. We're starting at 7, and there's still tickets available. So if you want to come, you should come. And then we're just continuing on through the prairies and eventually all the way to the East Coast, I think, by the end of this year. So lots more of this.
Well, perfect. That's all the questions that I had. Thank you so much for taking the time and coming in. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery and Furniture House, downtown Lloydminster.
Do you remember, baby? Do you remember? Well, look at how it all turned out. I hope she cheats on you with a basketball player.
We have a very special guest joining us today on Primetime Local News. Amanda Marshall is here. Amanda, you've got lots on the go, and we have so much to talk about. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
Well, let's talk about the single that's out right now, I Hope He Cheats. What an amazing song, and very cool just to listen to the lyrics. Tell me about this song.
This song was written by Marsha Ambrosius, who was one half of a very successful R&B duo out of the UK in the early aughts called Floetry, of which I was a big fan. And she recorded this song, I think in 2010 on one of her solo albums. I heard it several years later by accident. I heard it in a clothing store one day and it just stopped me cold. And because I thought it was hilarious in the sort of the specificity of it. I hope she cheats on you with a basketball player. It was so vicious and so funny. And I went home and wrote a very different arrangement of it than Marsha's original arrangement. And I just loved it. And I loved it so much that it really served as sort of a catalyst for me re-examining the rest of the record that I had written in terms of lyrical content. And it was just funny. It made me laugh. And I thought it was great. So it kind of made me re-examine my own stuff. And that's why I wanted it to be the lead-off single, because it really encapsulates sort of the sound and the spirit of the whole record.
Now, it's been a while, Amanda, since you've kind of been back in full force on the music scene, and now you've got the album, you've got the tour. So is the album everything written by you? And tell me a little bit about the process with the new album, Heavy Lifting.
Yeah, the everything else on the record, absent Marsha's brilliance, was written and produced by me. which was a huge change for me. I made a record called Tuesday's Child in 1998, 99 with Don Was, who's a very famous producer, most famously produced Bonnie Raitt and the Rolling Stones. And I met Don through a soundtrack that I did, and he was a huge hero of mine. He was someone I had always wanted to work with. And about halfway through the making of the record, he said to me one day, you know, you will produce your own records. You could produce, and I really discounted it because at the time it seemed like a very sort of mysterious and you know, kind of it seemed like a very other part of the job. And it wasn't until I was done with this that I realized, oh, hey, I guess I sort of did this. It was very organic. It happened very much by accident. I was recording over a very long period of time, mostly by myself, mostly at home. And before I knew it, I had produced the whole thing. So it happened very naturally. So I guess in a way he was right.
Now you have a tour coming up, and luckily you're coming to our neck of the woods here. You'll be in Edmonton and Calgary in June. How do you prepare for this tour? A lot of rehearsing, and did you have to get some new band members, or is it the same people from before? How do you get that all sorted after it's been a bit of a hiatus?
We have a few new members. Yeah, we do. We have a couple of new members. It's funny because people sort of filter in and filter out. It happens a lot in every area of the music business, especially in the touring world. You see a lot of the same people. There's a lot of crossover. You see a lot of, you know, in the time that I've spent opening for different people, opening for sort of larger acts, you run into a lot of the same like backing band members, and you think, oh, that guy was working with like Lionel Richie last week. Now he's with Katy Perry, or he was working with Beyonce, and now she's, you know, working with whoever. So yeah, so we do have some new members, but we also have a lot of people. There's a lot of people in my band who've been with me for a really long time. I always joke that my drummer has been like staring at my behind for like 20 years. Yeah, so it has just been such a revelation to, you know, get back out. I mean, for everybody, it's been a revelation to get back out in the world, period. But to be back doing something that I love with people that I really love being around and just fooling around and having fun has been amazing. And the enthusiasm with which this has been received is stunning to me. It's really been overwhelming. And the messages and text messages and emails that I'm getting have been just amazing. It's really been, I don't know how to describe it. It's really gratifying.
And it has been a long time for a lot of artists, like you said, even through the pandemic, and that was a challenge on its own. So do you really think that there's still people out there that are just so hungry for seeing artists like yourself live again and just so excited to be in that environment?
I do. I really do. And I'm somebody who has a tremendous amount of faith in the audience. I think people really gravitate towards authenticity. I think people can tell, there is room for manipulation in all forms of art. There's room for manipulation in music and, manipulation in photography and stuff like that. But I do think people can tell the difference mostly in a live performance. People can tell, they can suss out authenticity. And that's something that I have always, that kind of comes naturally to me. I don't really know how to do it any other way. And that's really been a huge part of getting this record out, because this record, the biggest compliment that I have gotten so far is, it sounds like you, but now. And that's exactly what I was striving for. The record is not, we're not chasing trends. It is not it's not a manipulated record. It's very, very authentic. And that carries over 100% into every live show that we do.
You have the date set out now, Amanda, for the tour. Is there a thought of maybe expansion and continuing on adding some more dates after you see how this part of it goes?
Yeah, we'll see. We will definitely see. This tour, actually, this whole process came about as a run because of a run of shows that we did in 2017, which seems like a lifetime ago now. But we did a run of shows in the summer of 2017, one of which actually I think brought us to Alberta, and we that was a huge sort of revelation to me. I was like, oh, I forgot how much fun this is. This is great. And it was a real part of kickstarting the whole process. And by the time we finished the record, the pandemic had just started. So we sort of delayed it because I was like, well, nobody's really waiting. Let's wait and, let's wait and let the world sort of calm down a little bit. So yeah, I'm very fluid. I didn't come into this with any expectation. The reception has been overwhelming. So we'll see what happens over the summer, and we'll see where we are in the fall. I anticipate that we're probably going to be doing some more stuff. Yeah.
Well, Amanda, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you. Hopefully we can catch you at some shows out here, and Regina is also close too, so we've got all kinds of time to catch up with you. Thanks again for joining us, and good luck with the tour. We're so excited to see you perform again.
Thank you. We'll see you soon. See ya.
I hope she changes. I hope she changes with a basketball player.
That's all the time we have for Primetime Local News tonight. Thank you so much for joining us and have a great rest of your evening.